All right, we'll go ahead and get started here. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. As we kick off one of the first of many awesome conversations, I just wanted to express my gratitude for both Gabe and Joe here joining us today. COVID-19 has impacted all of us over the last year, and while we're not yet in person, we're grateful to have the ability to continue providing meaningful connections and networking opportunities with you, alumni. As well as students, if there are any students joining. COVID-19 has changed many industries as we once knew them, including networking and recruitment. And looking for the next opportunity or dream job may have become slightly more complicated. And as we dive into those spaces from home, it could become even more complicated. But luckily for us, we have a few experts joining us today. And like I said, Gabe and Joe, and they can help us navigate these changes. So, like I said, joining us today is Gabe Romero. Gabe received his MBA from UNO and is a University of Nebraska at Omaha Alumni Award winner for excellence in public service. He's also a member of the University of Nebraska Alumni Association Board of Directors, and he is the founder of Cordova Growth Solutions. Gabe is a firm believer in giving back in the community he loves and is passionate about improving it for future generations. The Alumni Association wants to thank Gabe for taking the time with us to be here today, and we're so excited to hear from him. So without further ado, I'm going to throw it to Gabe, and I'm going to share this presentation. And if anyone can't see anything, just raise your hand, and I'll see what I can do. All right. Let's see.
Great. All right, David, thanks for doing that. So as David alluded to, he's doing the presentation piece because I have failed to do the technology side on my end. So thanks, David. I appreciate everybody joining us and UNO asking us to do this. We've probably got about 50 minutes, but I will do my best to make sure that I get you out of here faster than that. But if you have any questions or anything comes up during the presentation, I know that David's going to be looking at the chat line. If we can answer those as we're going, that's great. But if not, we'll get back to you, as soon as possible to kind of fill those voids. Couple things, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't like doing Zoom. Never been a fan of Zoom. I love doing presentations in person. So bear with me. Most of the presentations that I do are kind of modified towards that. So there's some things, and that goes against everything that we're talking about today, is how you navigate this COVID world, the job market, what's happened. But let's start with the obligatory who are we slide. And basically, Cordova, we're headhunters, right? We provide staff augmentation solutions, which include software solutions, near shore as well as offshore. Our verticals are primarily executive, IT, and sales roles. We've been in business since 2017, but I've actually been in the industry since 2003. I've been a part of 10,000 plus placements throughout the country with people making salaries anywhere from $30,000 to $350,000 a year. Part of our growth here recently has been the fact that we do partner in South America. In fact, we sent one of UNO's executive MBA teams down to South America to do the feasibility study for us, and that has been fantastic. So if you're out there and you're trying to figure out how to go international, I highly recommend UNO's executive groups. That's my plug for UNO. Great. We're actually located here in Benson. So that's us. I'm going to go to the next slide, David. I'll try and keep saying that so I don't pass you. So who am I? Obviously, Cordova, not who I am. My wife will tell you differently, but that's the family. That's my wife who keeps us all in line. That's my son who refuses to get a haircut, but I'm okay with that as long as he combs it and actually washes it. That's good. And there's my daughter who refuses to let anything get in her way. That's a little backdrop of the company and who I am. So let's kind of actually jump into the next slide and get started for why we're here. So how do we navigate this new landscape and the job market and what's going on and how we brand ourselves socially? What we're going to do is there's plenty of ways to cover this, but I'm going to cover three areas. One is, what employers are looking for and the trends that we're seeing right now since 2020, and into what will happen at this year. We'll talk about career branding itself, and we'll spend most of that time in regards to social media and that part of career branding. Some of this, maybe stuff that you've heard over and over again. Hopefully, there's some tidbit that you get out of it. If not, hit the snooze button. We'll figure that out. And then, of course, we'll do a little bit of resume writing highlights. Nothing. I don't want to spend too much time there. Because that itself could be a presentation, so could landing the interview and things like that. So you'll see me kind of bounce back and forth, but those are the primary areas that we're going to cover today. So we're going to go to the next slide, which is, what's going on, right? What are the actual trends? What can you see? So right now in 2021, it looks good, right? There are 82% of the companies globally. By the way, I stole a lot of this information from Monster, which I should. They're great at it, and they've got a great research team for this. But 82% globally are hiring, and of those skill sets of these positions that companies are hiring, 47% of these are backfills, and 35% are going to be new hires, which is a great indication whether you're new to the job market or have been in the job market. These are all past that mean that you have opportunities in front of you. 49% of the growth that we're going to see in the job market will come from the tech industry. So industries that are looking to replace, though, because listen, some replacements are growth, some are retirements, and some people lost their jobs. Those industries that are probably more inclined for that, you'll see on this slide, and I'm just trying to make sure I get that slide on my side. So 1 second. Healthcare is 59%, 53% will be in the financing and banking area, and 56 will be in real estate. Yep, real estate is hot. I think a plug to family members of mine that are in the real estate market, they would agree with that. If you're in one of these buckets, that future looks really good for you. In fact, if you're in the metro area of Omaha, UNMC is one of the largest employers in the state. So this is truly going to have an impact right in your backyard. So what else is going on? How else is COVID impacting employers? Well, a lot of this is around policy change that we've seen in 2020, at the end of it more than so, and then you're going to continue to see some of that policy change happening in 2021. This is a list of the top policy changers that globally that employers have made and are planning to make in 2021. And one of the ones that I think we're really seeing some interesting pushback on, or will see pushback on, is this work from home flexibility, right? Like I'm in the office right now, but I see a couple of us that are not in the office, and we've gotten very comfortable, working from home. And the thing that I can tell you is that most employers have not. They have, they're doing these things, but the reason why you keep hearing the buzzword is, when are we going to get back in the office? Did they say when we're going back? That's because employers have not accepted the fact that they definitely want you working from home. So this is going to be a shift that employers are really going to have to deal with, and so will we as we kind of get into what's happening in 2021. I'm going to go to the next slide here, which is those top three policy changes, right? This is interesting to me because this is what employees say they want, right? They want flexible work schedules, salary protection, the health policy protocols, and these are direct reflections of COVID. Everybody's worried about, if I go into the office, am I gonna be safe, right? And then of course the salary protection. So if you look at the slide prior to this and this slide, employees and employers are a little bit off, and the area that you can see that in salary protection, which we get it, right? Like as employees, we want to feel like our money is going to be there, the job's going to be there, but if you're dealing with a small business or a medium-sized business, those are things that even they can't guarantee in a COVID time. If the market falls off, they can't keep everybody, even though that's what we want. So my thought process on this and my suggestion to you is if that is something that's the top of your list, go work for a very large firm. Don't try to assume that a medium size or a small firm will be able to offer that because it's just not possible for them either. Even if the intent is there, pay attention to the places that you're looking to gain employment from or go to. Um, I would say, this is very similar to what we're thinking about from like career development. And I'm going to hit on this a little bit throughout the presentation. But when it comes to career development, the challenges that a lot of employees and employers are facing right now is how do you grow somebody within the organization when they work from home? In the past, if they were in the four walls, you could see the work. You could see who was really putting out the work and the performance and who got along with everybody, who became the favorites. And if you were the employee, you could kind of figure out how to navigate in that space. Today, that's a challenge for everybody. And we'll kind of touch those points in the presentation, but know that you're not alone if you're trying to figure out how you're going up the career ladder, so to speak. Um, I'm going to go to the next slide and we'll talk about what exceptions we're seeing from employers right now during COVID-19. And it's true. They don't care where you live. And I'm using a generalization here, right? There are some employers that definitely care where you live, and typically it's your more traditional companies or companies that are heavier in industrial workforce. But for the most part, globally, these numbers have been taken from employers, and they're not as worried about the big gaps in employment. That's not a huge concern right now because it's easy to say, well, this company was this, so they're just assuming that that's what's going on so they can hire you. So that's a big win for employees. Um, and they're not in the past, if you're a hiring manager, a lot of the telltale signs of somebody's resume is to see their career path as they were going. Did they go from, have they been in the same place for 10 years and did they have any title changes? If they didn't, those are red flags. Today, those aren't as big of a deal. They're okay with people that like to just get in and do their job and go home. So those things we're definitely seeing. Um, the people that are like for the new grads or the grads that are not there yet, those industries that are doing the most of the exceptions and doing most of this hiring is just number one is leisure and hospitality, business services, transportation, logistics, and there it is, healthcare. Right, that's not going away anytime soon. And if you're in a hub like Omaha, you've got something in the back door that's ready for you. So we'll talk about, here's a list of those important skills that employees state that they really want, right? You can look at a job description, you can see any job post that's out there, but when we asked employers what do they really want, these are the top four that they really want. And dependability, teamwork, collaboration, flexibility, problem solving, and those are all great buzzwords, right? That's fantastic. But how the heck do you explain that that's what you are, right? How do you do that in a resume or socially on some branding? What happens to get that across? Always like the best thing I can suggestion I can give to you out, and we'll talk about the resume piece later and the career branding piece later. But if you're in person or in an interview, you have to give real examples of how you are dependable, right? And relate it to what they're looking for. Dependability is one of those, if you're from Omaha, it's an easy thing, right? When it snows, I don't care. I make it to work. It snowed 10 inches just on Monday, and I still got to work on time. In fact, I picked up two coworkers. This is that you can count on me. That's a specific example of dependability that somebody who's hiring is going to go, listen, this person's got it figured out. But you have to be able to convey that. Telling somebody that you're about teamwork, That's nice. But what does that mean? What did you do to say you're about teamwork? If you're fortunate and one of those athletic people that can list that I was on 6 different teams, teamwork stands out. But if it happens to be that, you were a boxer, teamwork probably doesn't apply there because it's not a team in boxing. So like think about what those examples are that you can give and understand that this is what employers are really looking for. Um, we'll go into the next piece. Um, so how do you stand out? Um, these are some of the stats. Again, these are global stats, and what you'll see is interview. What's your interview presence, right? And we'll talk about some of the things that we can do, not just from the interview side, but also from like social media that we're going to get into later. But Zoom, you'll see me do this a lot, but some of that's forced because when you're using your hands, it means you're engaged and your viewers are engaged as well if you're doing something within Zoom. The key to this is if you're doing Zoom interviews or you're doing Zoom presentations, make sure your Wi-Fi is up to speed, right? There's nothing worse, and even if it's not your fault, if you know you've got a bad Wi-Fi connection, go someplace else. The worst thing you can do in a first impression or any impression is to have that glitchy feel in the backdrop because it's no different than if you met somebody in person and you were talking to them and you stopped talking to them for 30 seconds and then started talking. They would just look at you awkwardly and not know what the hell's going on. That's what it's like with bad Wi-Fi. Pay attention to it. It's not okay to say, oh, my Wi-Fi is bad. It's not okay, especially when you're trying to navigate this marketplace right now. First impressions are always first impressions. Pay attention to them. And this is exactly, we'll dive into more a little about the culture side of this too. So this is exactly what we're looking at. Employer, I'm going to go to the next slide, David. I'm horrible about telling you I'm clicking, right? Sorry. So employees will have higher expectations of candidate skills. I think it's interesting that what they're looking for is how you can demonstrate your skills on your resume very quickly, and candidates want to demonstrate, their personality on these resumes. Listen, if you're the employee and the employer is telling you they want you to demonstrate your skills, demonstrate your skills. This is don't unless you're in a creative environment. This is your time to demonstrate your cultural fit is when you're in person in an interview or on social media in some way. But on your resume, this is not where you go into a long story about how you had a long, hard life or the other day you saw this job. Just stick to the facts when it comes to that. They want to see the skill sets. The one thing that we have found in the market space right now is because we can work from home, all employers have said, wow, you know what, maybe we can hire people anywhere in the country. Well, this has created a situation where because of that, the expectations of employers are you better be really good because you went from a pool of 1 million in Omaha to now looking at the entire country. So when you're trying to figure out how do I stand out in that group, it's a different ball game. So pay attention to that when you're putting your skills down, and pay attention to that when you're delivering that. There was a time where we had employees that say, well, we'll give this person a shot because we don't have anybody else that's matched up perfectly, so let's give them the shot. That's not going to happen if people are allowed to work from home moving forward as they are right now. So do be mindful of these things, especially how that works. One thing they're showing is the trend right now is these video interviews, like do a video of yourself, send it into us. That's a company that is intentionally trying to figure out how you would fit into their culture. And that's your chance to try to show how you would fit into their culture. So if you are doing a video interview, you have to insert some part of who you are personally so they can see the cultural fit along with the hard skill sets that you have. That's also a slippery slope. So don't go too far unless that's what you want to portray. And then hopefully that company sees that as a perfect fit for them, and then you're on the right path. We'll go into that culture fit right now, right? So when you think about, I'm switching slides, David. So when you think about culture fit, it's when you're doing something from a COVID world, that's damn impossible, because the culture fit somehow became your office space in your house versus where they are. And the study that we just saw, that 75% of candidates are struggling to understand the culture fit of an employer. They'll do an interview with an employer and have no idea if they're actually going to fit in with that group. And when you get into the day to day after you've been hired by an employer, you find out very quickly what the real culture is. People either interact with you, they're friendly, or they're not. Everybody's in their silos. But in the interview, everybody's interactive. And that's a challenge for employees and employers. So that part is making a big impact on stickiness of jobs. We're seeing candidates accept jobs and employers extend offers for candidates because of the interviews that they've done. But 2 months later, they find that it's not a fit. And either the candidate's moving on very quickly to another opportunity, or the employer's letting them go. So some things that you should be mindful of when you're trying to find a way to fit in culturally with a organization, and or if you're trying to find that with a candidate, is you really need to identify questions in the interview process that allow you to get a glimpse of the culture or the person you're talking to that are specific to that. So like a few things are, ask them what the team is made up of. What is the makeup of the team? Tell me about the intricacies of each person on the team. How many people have left in the last 2 years, and why do people stick? What does the team do outside of work? And because we're in a COVID world, it's not what do they do collectively together, but what do the individuals do outside of work for fun? How many people in the team are very much like, hey, we're full in COVID, I don't want to, I'm in this zone, that's what I'm doing? How many are like, nope, I'm still going out to restaurants, I'm doing this thing? Because it'll give you a sense of the culture. Ask how they're interacting. Are they just doing videos? Are most of the meetings videos with their cameras off and people just kind of tuning into audio? What does that look like for them? What team building have they done since COVID, and how often are they doing it? How's the business figured out how to evaluate performance and growth in this virtual world? I will promise you, most companies don't have the answer to that. The ones that have established and been doing this for a while have a better grasp of that. But it's a great question to ask to figure out what they're doing for this. And then, with that being said, so that's my 5,000-foot view of what trends are happening right now because of COVID, and what employees and employers are seeing. So I'm going to kind of talk about based on that, how do we attract people to us? Did I lose anybody? Good. So how do we attract people, and how do we do this career branding thing? So I'm going to go to the next slide, next part of this, and talk about more of that career branding piece. And as with anything, when you're thinking about what career branding is, I want to define it and break it down. So there's branding, which is the thing about this definition is that you notice it's about the product. And I'm sorry, David, you just fly through those animations probably, so you don't have to try and keep up with my. Okay, so when you think about this, I want you to see what branding is. And I basically stole these straight from the internet, which is probably, I think, I even put it down, entrepreneur.com. That's great. So when you're thinking about branding is the marketing practice of creating a name, a symbol or design that identifies or differentiates a product from other products. And again, the key to this is it's not talking about a person. So we have to try and meld those together. So when it's a career, it's work-related and other relevant experiences, both inside and outside of an organization that form a unique pattern over the individual's lifespan. It's really important that when we talk about a career, it's both inside and outside of an organization, and those patterns that through a lifespan, because it's not a 5-year thing. It's what you're doing throughout your career, even if you're going to different companies. So when you put that together, I define career branding as the intentional efforts to highlight specific work and relevant experiences in the pursuit of career change, advancement, or public acknowledgement. I think that this, if you're looking at how you can navigate what's going on with social media and branding, if you look at that definition of it and you kind of take that and keep it as your core when you're going out to social media, it'll help you to make the right decisions. So I'll dive a little bit more into what I mean by that. There are 3 paths when you're talking about career branding. And go ahead and just, David, I skipped slides again. Go ahead and just hammer through all those animations. Those 3 paths are internal branding. These 3, let me slow back. No matter if you have 1 year or 20 years of experience, you have to determine again what your brand is and what you want your brand to be. You have to understand that your brand can change over time, and so should you, as we just talked about. Those paths with internal branding is about inside the 4 walls of your work environment. And you're currently in COVID, so those 4 walls are different for everybody in the company right now. Some of them are in the company, some of them are in their little rooms, but internal branding still remains the same. Professional branding deals directly with what you do or what you want to do for work or leisure. That is, and we'll dive into what that is, like those networking groups that you're doing that are really specific towards the business, but they're leisure. They're not a part of the organization. And then external branding, how those outside of your direct reach know what you do and who you are. And direct reach is somebody obviously that you interact with on a daily basis, or you could interact with on a daily basis. So I'm going to look a little deeper into each of these. So let's go to the next slide. I don't know if there's animation on this one or not, David. So um, there is some animation. I'm going to just fly through some of this animation. I want to start by looking at this from the lens of anyone in the workforce who is not an executive in the organization. Okay, so this is more for the employee. There are 3 platforms to build your internal brand. There's the manager side, right? So you're dealing either with your managers, peers, or organizations when you're trying to build this brand part. When you're looking at a manager side, there's simple ways to start branding with your manager. Be the first one to work and the last one to leave. That's number 1. That is the easiest way to build your professional brand inside of work. Now, when I say be the first one to leave, the first one to work and the last one to leave, you can do that on COVID time Zoom. If you're the first one logged in and the last one logged out, they'll know. If you're the one that's interacting on any type of instant messaging, they will know. It goes a long way for you putting an example of who you are in that space. Ask for projects, overproduce as much as you can. Look outside of your own role within the organization. You should know what your manager is identifying as a top performer. You should also know who your manager thinks it sees as their favorite employee. And if it's not you, well, why is that other person the favorite? There are some instincts where people are like want to assume that, oh, that person just sucks up or whatever. Sometimes that may be the case. Maybe they're related, but oftentimes it's because it's the one person the manager in the organization can count on to get things done. And as a manager, that's what we're looking for. We want somebody that can make our life that much easier. And that goes a long way if that's you in this space. Or be busy. I mean, you have to be the one that's busy, or at least act like you're busy. This is one of my, David, this is that clip. I just love this clip. I try to work it into things. So this is the best example of acting like you're busy. Go ahead, David.
One second, pulling that up right now.
No worries. And selfishly, while he's pulling that up, I'm a Seinfeld fan. So, of course, I think it's a great example. I hope there's not an ad in it. I would be surprised if there isn't. Good for the ad companies, bad for me.
One moment.
No worries. And if it doesn't work, we can skip it. I can send that. I think it's just a great clip.
We will send it out in the
Good.
email afterwards. How about that?
So that's great. That's great. We'll move on. So I will say this. It's the video of George explaining how you act like you're busy in the office by just looking frustrated, right? Like, oh, what I'm doing. So I did a horrible example of that. Get a chance, watch the clip. The other path that we've listed out here is peers. This is that branding that you can do with the internal branding is with your peers. Share your goals with your peers. So often you have teams, especially right now during COVID, that have no idea what you're working on, how you're working on it, and if you are working on something, why are you doing it? They have no inclination of it, and some people don't care. But if you're instant messaging or you're interacting, let your peers know what your goals are for the next year and what you're trying to work on. Um, Invite others to be around you. If there is a meeting that you're going to be on that is a video conference, but you think there could be influence from somebody else, invite them to that meeting. They may not come. They probably don't want to go because it's another Zoom meeting, but the invite goes a long way with building that brand for you and your peers. Um, Now, this will definitely come back in more ways than one. At some point, your peers will be your references for your next career or your next position. And at some point, they also may be the person that is hiring. The better impression that you leave with your peers, the better off you will be. I can tell you a lot of times when we're working with candidates, they are shocked when they don't get a job. And almost always, if somebody in our history, when I call somebody, I go, wait, this person's the perfect fit for this. Why are you turning him down? And I get well, we can't really say it's not a fit. It's because they know somebody that worked there, and that person does not want to work with them again. Even if they're the perfect fit, somebody within that organization has a bad impression with you, you're not getting that job. So be mindful of the peer side of this. The other side is that third step is organization. Um, these are those individuals that you don't see or you don't work with directly within the organization, but they do work for your organization. You have access to them. You have access to what they do. You also have access to see them in these weird all hands on deck meetings where you decided that morning to be on video like you just woke up in your sweats and something else. Dress the part, right? Dress the part. You're going to, like, I get it. Not everybody wants to get up and shower up right now. For some reason, we have forgot that we used to shower before we started work, and now we just show up with a cup of coffee. Stop doing that, right? Just like be the part. And this is the part that you'll get recognized from people in the organization that don't know you, don't get a chance to actually see your work, but they're getting pieces of you. I would also recommend greet those individuals. Reach out of your way if they're in a different department to actually meet different people. Say, hey, I've seen you on some different things. My understanding is you do this. I don't know what that is. I'm very curious about what that role is. That is intentional networking within your organization that goes a long way in this time. It'll go a long way in review time. It'll go a long way if somebody has to cut back. Like, no, let's not cut. Don't cut Bob. Bob's a good dude. Bob reached out to me a couple times. I don't know why, but he was very nice. He meant well. He's a good company representative. These are important things to think about in this time. In the past, you could do it just by saying hi to people, just walking in the halls. We're not getting those interactions right now. All right, so I would say if you're in the executive space, so that first part was more about the employee side, but if you're in the executive space, the biggest key to this is what do your managers think about you? Who do you connect with outside of your team that is in the organization that you're building relationships? So when you walk in a room, people think, wow, this is the manager when he walks in the room goes, hey, look at you, not look at me, right? These things make a difference what people's impressions of you are as an executive. We could really dive into some of that, but I'm the audience I'm trying to be specific towards, so we'll cover that probably in a different presentation. I hope it's not a Zoom. Going to the next slide there. Let me see if I'm on the right space. The second path for that career, and I think there's some animation here. Yeah. The second path for career branding is that professional branding. We highlight three paths they did with groups. So one second. So it's professional groups that I would say to you is the volunteer piece, boards, and associations. With volunteer, that listen, I think there's always time to volunteer. The volunteer thing could be anything from coaching your kid's soccer league, nonprofits, soup kitchens. I mean, I think philanthropically, this is a great opportunity for you to broaden yourself, but it's not an opportunity for you to coast into a situation and just kind of be there, but not really be there, because that also brands you. If you're going to do something, do it well. Don't don't overcommit to things. When it comes to like going to being on a board, you can seek out. A lot of people will ask us, well, how do I get on a board? I don't know how to get on these boards. Boards are publicly published. If there's a board, they'll show you exactly who's on their board. All you have to do is reach out to those board members. They're always looking for people to help. And if you make the right impression, you're going to be the one they ask. Now, some boards are very expensive. I'm not saying go to all of them, but there are opportunities on boards throughout your communities. I'm sure of it. The other ones, associations. Associations typically are those paid for, but not always. Neighborhood associations, Haram, marketing groups, SMPS. Get on a committee. Start to get to know those individuals around you. There's going to Odds are they're going to be more Zoom meetings, so get used to it, right? Get a comfortable chair, get a comfortable headset, find a comfortable area to do that. But these are some of those ways that I firmly believe will help you with that path for some more of the branding. But I want to go back to something. Don't sign up just to sign up. And the other thing is, don't overcommit. If you see somebody, and if you're on this Zoom, don't raise your hand, but if you see somebody that's on more than 5 boards, they're not giving it all. They're not, there's no way to give everything you can to 5 boards. And some of that, you may make some impacts, and I think that's really good. But if you're at the start of your career, the mid-side, you don't do that. Get on 1 or 2 boards, fully commit. You'll see the results, and you'll see the results in your branding as well. So I'm going to move on. That stated, let's look at some of the external branding piece. So this is that social media stuff, right? I don't know where. I'm going to take a look, see where you are, David. I think yeah. So those are the social media things: LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and then the 3 dots represents all of the things I don't even know because I'm too old to know, but I know they exist. I try to get on as much as I can, but at the same time, you can only be in so many places. That being said, this is one of those things where there's tons of social media platforms, but they all require the same approach to actually be effective in it. Sadly, we usually see, if you go to the next slide, that's what we see, right? This is the most entertaining thing in the world for me. If you go to, and I pulled some of I try not to put names in here, so if they're named, I apologize. But it took me all of 30 seconds to look at my own Facebook profile, and this is what I found. I found somebody that was taking a picture of the beautiful scenery it looks like in Colorado, and just so we're on the same page, this person is not a geography major. This person's not in that space. I saw somebody say, if you're Mexican, you know what this is. So it's a picture of food. Again, this person, I'm not sure what they're conveying. The concern I have with social media is we start posting things on our personal brand that makes us all look like we're either cooks, alcoholics, fitness instructors, are really self-indulgent about ourselves, right? And that's what you're saying to the world. And this happens on LinkedIn. So what my advice to you is, when you're doing this, you have to approach this in a different way. So let's go to that you have to approach it just like a company would, right? When you think about it, the only people that can post whatever they want on social media and get away with it is if you're really, really rich, really poor, or really dumb and don't know any better. Be cautious of what you're out there doing, right? And how you're doing it. So if you go to the next slide, these are posts from companies. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because they're on brand for what they want to be. More importantly, they're on brand for what they want you to think they are and what they want you to see them as. When you're looking at social media, you don't have to. If you're looking at it from navigating the COVID world and everything else, you want it to be on brand with who you want to be or you want to become or want people to think you are. So when we go to this next slide, I want to highlight, and I think there's some animation here, David. I apologize. I think there is, maybe not. The biggest thing is you have to define like what are the paths approach to social media, right? So you have to define what you're trying to accomplish. You need to know, are you going on social media to network or just connect on these sites? Are you going out there to help others with their brand? This is your storefront? Make sure you put up the right sign in front of your storefront. Now, if you're out there to have fun and do all those things, that's great, but don't invite the whole world. Block it off to invite the right people. You can have multiple brands, just know what that is. But all the platforms are the same. First, define what you're trying to accomplish. Second, outline your approach to social media in every one of your platforms. There's tools out there to do that. There's a tool called Buffer. How often should you post? What are you going to include in your post? Have that posting plan across all platforms if you're serious about this. Again, this is exactly what companies do. Individually, if you're trying to navigate this space and use that brand to make you better in your career, pay attention to these things. It works. Stay the course. Each site has some tools that help you expand the look, but be genuine with who you want to be and who you are. And consistent is a big key to this. Avoid extremes. If there's something out there that goes against your brand, be careful about it. Like extremes in any situation, politically, foods, whatever that is, avoid some extremes. I would strongly suggest, though, have fun with social media. Just be careful who you're sharing that social media with if you're trying to navigate what's going on, because people are depending on this a lot more to put you into buckets. Um, do your best to list your those tangible accomplishments, right? I can assure you that if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you're going to see somebody that, talks about jobs, talks about trends, talks about careers. You're not going to see pictures of alcohol. And I love bourbon. That's not, maybe on Facebook you will. I'll admit that, but it's not like me doing a cake stand. That's that's not where we're going. If your job is one thing and you are talking to your closest friend and they say, "What do you do for a living?" You've already missed your career branding moment. So pay attention to that. Let's see. Um, I want to make sure that I cover a couple of things. So I'm going way longer than I wanted to because you gave me a microphone, so to speak. I'm going to go to that next slide, and this is the resume writing things. And there's a bunch of bullet points here, and I just want to give some quick tips on this because I do want to get done for you. First thing of the resume, keep it simple. Less than 10 pages, more than one is fine. You can have 2 or 3 pages. You got more than 10 pages. You better be a really good contractor who's done 10 different gigs in the last 3 years. If it's more than that, cut it off. Nobody cares what you did 20 years ago, just so we're fair. The other thing I want to make sure that you pay attention to is adjectives. Stop with those one. Oftentimes these kits for resumes start with "tell them who you are," and everybody starts with "problem solver," "dynamic listener," right? No one's reading that. We all know what you did. You're thinking of these great adjectives that really no one's going to pay attention to. These are not dating ads. I would strongly say avoid those and actually list accomplishments. List your top 5 accomplishments. If it's 3, list those. Be very specific with those tangible numbers. Had 25 sales at 5 billion last year, top performer of 7 people. That's way better than saying team worker, right? Cover letters, don't do it. The only time you should ever do a cover letter is if they specifically ask for a cover letter. Um, Employers are getting thousands of resumes at once. We're not reading thousands of cover letters. It does not happen. Uh, the cover letter should be, if you do a cover letter, it should be no more than maybe 5 sentences. So my strong suggestion is if you do it, it's just going to be you entertaining yourself because we just don't read them. Graphics, unless you're in a creative space, stick to black and white. We don't need to see a picture of you. I know everybody, the trend right now is these pictures and color. Don't do it unless it's a specific industry. If it's a video interview and they're asking for it, that's fantastic. But if they're not, stick to the format. And a lot of reasons for this is because most employers now use ATSs, and ATS simply allows them to parse your resume into their system. If you've got a bunch of graphics and pictures and columns, those things do not parse well into an ATS. And when they don't parse well into an ATS, somebody in HR goes, let's move on to the next 999 resumes that already showed up. So be very cautious about that. I know they look great, but they're not hitting the mark. I would say buzzwords, always include buzzwords that are in your vertical. It's only if you've done them. If you've done something and there's a buzzword for like technology, it says agile, BI, those things, if you've done it, make sure they're in there and they're clearly, same thing with an SEO, it should be in the resume multiple times, applicably, but it should be in the resume so somebody can see that. Sharing your resume. I don't care how many times somebody says, oh, hey, I've got a friend that works there. Give me your resume and I'll send it to him. Don't do that. I strongly suggest if somebody says that to you, say, oh, great, why don't you just introduce me to your friend so I can see if it's a place I would want to work and I can actually tell them about who I am. If you've been on the other side of the fence and somebody comes up to you and goes, hey, my friend, he's looking for a job. I mean, I don't know what he does, but here's his resume. You're not looking at that resume. We've all been there. We're not doing that. If they really want to introduce you and it's the best way, ask them to introduce you to their friend. Also avoid things where these groups that go, oh, just post your resume in this big group. Your resume only tells one side of the story. And if somebody sees your resume and you are qualified for the job, but you just did a poor job of putting that in your resume, they're only going to look once and you've missed your moment. Make sure you do as much face-to-face or Zoom as you can in those spots. And alignment, make sure your resume is all that branding we talked about. Make sure your resume is aligned with that. If you apply to a job and it says all of these things, and then they go to your brand, which is LinkedIn, Facebook, or whatever, and it says the exact opposite, they're not following up. There's something missing there. So do be mindful of that. I've got if you go to the next slide, this is the most generic resume you can get, but it's specific, it's to the point, it'll fit into any ATS. If you can do that with your resume, you're going to be way better off. So I mean, I could dive into resume writing for a while, but it's to the point and you can find what you need to find. That's us. So if you get to the back of it, I went way longer than I wanted to. So if you have questions, feel free to write them or send them, but I know we have 10 minutes left for my counterpart here to give a presentation to. So my apologies.
No, thank you so much, Gabe. That was awesome. And we'll send out your contact information after the rest of the presentation. And let me get back here.
While you're doing that, selfish plug, we are hiring. So if you know people, I'd love to talk to them.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you so much. And I'm going to throw it to Joe Hayes. And Joe Hayes is the Associate Director of Career Development and Employee Relations at UNO. So he is an amazing resource, not only for students, but for you as alumni. So I'm going to throw it to Joe. And yeah.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Gabe. What a terrific presentation. Holy cow, I learned so much there that we teach our students, but also new things that is so insightful. the trends, etc. I love it. And that on that last resume, I can't believe it. The person lived on Resume Drive. If you notice that, amazing, right, Gabe? How fitting. Perfect
Scott
address.
Frost too. Holy smokes.
I
What are the
know.
odds?
Hired,
looking.
right?
He's going to be looking pretty soon, right?
Oh,
No comment. We will. So the reason I'm here is that at the university, I am part of the Academic and Career Development Center. So think your campus-wide career service is, and we are there for not only all students but all alumni for their life at no cost. So we are your champion in your job-seeking search. We are your partners, your accountability partners, your advocates, and so forth. So what I will do is I just want to quickly share a little bit about our website. And this really, I think, fits in perfectly with Gabe's presentation on branding and resume and interviewing. So what I'm going to share here is just a quick demo, and you can see this correctly. Perfect. So this is our website right here. The website is acdc.unomaha.edu, the shorthand way to get to it. And a couple things to point out. One, we have career drop-in hours, Zoom-in hours every single day, Monday through Friday, where any alum can Zoom on in for a one-on-one career consultation. So this may be going over your resume, maybe talking about an interview, or maybe it's just like I'm looking to change careers or don't know where to go. We're there to talk and help you along in that process. And as we navigate through our site here, just a couple resources we have. So we have things such as the resume and cover letter. We have some easy to navigate templates like Gabe showed that you can download. There's a lot of stuff out there, right? Here's some just resources that are easily you can pick apart, you can get started, some samples, etc. And we also have this tool where we know that people are busy, and we make it easy for you. So you can simply go up in this section, submit your resume to us. There's a couple questions that will be there, and we'll get you feedback in 3 to 5 business days, right? So we just want to be there to support you along that process. In Gabe's talk, he was mentioning about virtual interviewing, right? How people are trying to examine the cultural fit for opportunities. Well, we have interviewing resources as well. And one thing I just want to really point out is we have this, what I think is a terrific resource called Big Interview, where you can do custom practice interview questions based on the industry that you're seeking from the comfort of your home. So 24/7. So if you can't meet with us, you can do this on your own at your own time. We've seen people log in at 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. So it will be accessible regardless of time and location. And then just lastly, another thing. So Gabe's presentation was a lot about branding, which I love because it's so important nowadays. Much like our resume review page, we have resources regarding personal branding, how to utilize LinkedIn, not just to find jobs, but to connect with fellow alums for these informational conversations that you may want to have. In addition, you could submit your profiles, be it Handshake, the university's job and internship board, or LinkedIn. You can share that profile with us, and a member of our team will gladly take a look at it and provide some feedback, some unbiased feedback that can helpfully provide some feedback for you. So with that, I just wanted to be here really as an active listener, buzzword, Gabe, but more so to remind of our services because as an alum, we are there to support you. And with that, I will send it back to David.
awesome. Well, thank you to you both, Joe and Gabe. We appreciate you being here with us, and I know I learned a whole bunch in the last hour. This is not going to be the last. We are going to see you on March 25th when we'll have another fellow alum, Lamar Womble, from Passion for Leadership. He'll be joining us, and then we'll kind of get into Passion for Leadership, how to explore those, and really excited about that. So like I said, I'll be sending some additional resources out to y'all via email, including Joe's contact information as well as Gabe's. And if there are any questions, please send those send those our way, and we'll get those back to you as soon as possible as well. So I think that's it. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening, and go Mavs.